How's it going, guys? JP here, and this is going to be my video for Bates Motel episode number 10, titled Midnight. This is the season final. The show has been picked up for a second season. Believe it will be filming this summer, and it will be airing in 2014, so season 2 is happening. As always, this thing will be spoiler heavy. I will be talking about pretty much everything that happens in this episode. With that said, we got quite a bit to get to, so I guess I'll just start right now. In the previous episode, we've seen a banner in the background for some sort of high school dance, and I figured it would play into this episode, which it does. At the beginning, we have Emma staring at the banner, and Norman kind of asks her if she wanted to go. I guess he kind of felt bad for her. She looked like she wanted to go. She accepts. After that, we have Norma. I believe she goes into the sheriff's office and tells him about Jake Abernathy, or the man in number 9, or whatever name he goes by, and tells the sheriff pretty much about the $150,000 and all that. The sheriff says, "I'll handle it. Go home." And that she, of course, is like, "Well, what do you mean you'll handle it?" So she leaves. She gets home. She's still all worried about her kids being killed and her being killed, and whatnot. So she asks Dylan if he can get her a gun and teach her how to use it. And of course, at the beginning, Dylan says, "Hell no, you and a gun, Norma, is not a good thing." After that, we see Norma go back to the therapist, which I thought this was a pretty decent scene. We got a look into Norma's attachment to Norman slightly, and we also get a brief look into her past, which I thought was interesting because I don't believe we ever really knew much about the mother's past in the original series. So I thought that was interesting, what makes her tick and what makes her the way she was. We find out a little bit more later on. And after that, we see Norma walk in on his teacher, that female teacher. I forget her name, but she was arguing on the phone with what seems to be her boyfriend, and crying, and she says, "Ask Norman if he will keep the secret and not tell anybody." I thought it was kind of funny that she was, screaming in a classroom and expected not to be seen, even though there was nobody in there. I mean, but anyway, they get a little bit closer. After that, we see that the sheriff does have the money, which I suspected, and he takes it out of a duffel bag. Then he goes to see Keith Summers' sister, who is beat up, has like a black eye and stuff. He asks her, did this Jake Abernathy guy do it, and blah, blah, blah. We find out that she was partner, Deputy Shelby, Keith Summers, and the man in number 9 were partners in this sex slave business thing, and he has other setups up and down the coast, which I just find it insane. Like, who are all these weirdos that are doing this to a high enough rate to make $150,000, but anyway, so yeah, after that, Norma we see that Norma has a scar on her leg that she says she dumped hot chocolate on or something when she was like 2. And Dylan eventually takes a gun and gives it to her and teaches her how to shoot. And I thought this was a very good scene because it shows Dylan being the adult and Norma being the kid, because it really shows Norma's personality, how Dylan has to keep, yelling at her and scalding her to tell her, pay attention, you're handling a firearm here, and she gets all excited like a kid. And I thought it was a really interesting look at, the way that she is, and the reason that she is, kind of a failure as a mother, at least of now, just simply by the way that she is more of a kid, and she has a weird personality. So that was a good scene. After that, we see Maggie shows up at the Bates Motel and says, "Norma, if you have this," of course Norma doesn't know who she is, but she's like, "If you have the money, you better give it to him. He will kill you and your kids." Of course, that freaks Norma out even more. Bradley shows up to the house to get her father's possessions that she left at the at his work where he worked. In the previous episode, Dylan and her went to get stuff. I'm not quite sure why they didn't just get it then. But I guess they had to have Bradley show up at the house to make Norman pretty pissed off. And he's sitting there in the other room. Bradley and Dylan are sitting there talking. He really doesn't like it. We all knew that that was going to happen. And after that, Norman flips the fuck out about some black socks, dude. It was crazy. He was pretty mad over the Bradley thing, and he just trips out over some socks, and it was pretty funny. But yeah, he was pretty mad. After that, we have Norma tells Norman about her past, and this came kind of out of. I wasn't really expecting it to be this. I was expecting her father to be abusive or something, but it turns out that her brother used to force her to have sex with him when she was like 13 or something, which is, I guess it kind of makes sense why Norma's so messed up. And her father was extremely violent, and her mother was pretty much dead, and she had a troubled childhood. So that might explain why she is more like a kid than she should be. She should be a grown parent, and it explains a bit. And so after that. Norman takes Emma to the dance, and Norman is hardcore eyeing up Bradley the whole time. And of course, Emma gets super sad, looks a bit heartbroken, which is kind of sad. I like the Emma character, and she's a nice girl, and it just sucks that she's cares so much for Norman Bates. And she takes off. After that, Norman goes outside, and Norman goes outside with Bradley's boyfriend, I guess, and he tells her to stay away from Bradley, and that he took advantage of her when her father was dead, just had died, and then he pretty much punches Norman in the face. Cut to Norman walking down the road in the rain, and the teacher comes and picks him up, and she takes him back to her house where they talk a bit. She cleans up his face. He's bleeding, dries off and stuff. And then we're cutting back and forth between that and Norma at the dock with a bag filled with pillows. And she's waiting, and she sees that the sheriff shows up. She hides behind some shit, and then the car pulls up, and the way that I thought this was going was the sheriff was telling Abernathy that you're working with me now. I want 50-50. I don't care what the others got. They were dumbasses, and blah blah blah. And then Norma's sitting behind a bunch of stuff with a gun pointed at them, and then the sheriff shoots Abernathy. He falls into the water, and then he goes and throws the money in there also, which I wasn't really expecting. I give them credit for going the other way on this. I really thought that the sheriff was going to be kind of the crooked guy, because just from how he looked all season. And then he tells Norma, which obviously we didn't know that he knew that she was there. He tells her to go home, and she says, "I could have shot you." And he says, "When I say trust me, trust me." So Sheriff turns out to be quite a badass. So then we cut back to the teacher and Norman in her house. She's cleaning him up a bit. They're getting kind of close, and she says, "You can't tell anybody you were here." And she basically says, "I'll take you home now. I'm just gonna go change." She goes into a room, and she doesn't shut the door, and there's kind of a mirror at a certain angle to where you could kind of see her taking off her dress. Of course, Norman is staring a bit, and then all of a sudden his mother is sitting on the couch in front of him, and she says, so he has a vision of his mother, and she says, what kind of grown woman invites a student into her house? Norman's like, she's just being polite. She's taking me home and stuff, and Norma's like, she's trying to seduce you. Did she shut the door? Look at her. She's getting undressed and stuff. And cut to Norman running down the road in the rain, which I like that. I like how it just cut to that. And he gets home, and Norma is there, and she's all happy that everything's over with, and she says, let's go inside and make a fire or whatever. And Norman says that he something he left from his teacher. So I forget exactly what he says, but yeah, and then at the end of it, we cut to back at the teacher's house, and there's blood on the floor, and of course her throat is slit. And that's the end of the episode, and I thought that was quite a cool ending, and it definitely was psycho-ish. It had, one of the first times all season there was glimpse of, the film Psycho in the show, but this was one of the hardcore moments that really made it feel more like Norman Bates and the Psycho films. So I really like that. I'm not sure if it is possible that Norman did not kill her. It could be her boyfriend. Maybe he left because he felt uncomfortable. He didn't quite get to that point where his mother was the vision and telling him, to kill her. Maybe it was just like an early stage where he had to leave. He's like, I think he says, "I know what I have to do," and he left. Maybe he left. Somebody else killed her, but I don't know if that would be a cop out or not. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. And yeah, this is if he did kill her, it's an unprovoked kill, and maybe this teacher really wasn't getting all that close to Norman. Maybe that's just what we was seeing through his point of view. Um, uh, if not, there's just many possibilities. I like where it ended. It left it kind of open a bit, but not fully open. It gave you something. So yeah, I'm looking forward to season 2. Overall, this show did not blow me away, but I think it. I was a little bit. I didn't really know how I felt about it at first. On one hand, I thought it was pretty decent, and on the other hand, I didn't like that it was modern. I'm a big fan of the original series. I just wasn't sure about it, but now I think I finally, after letting the whole season, soak in a bit, I think I like how it was done. It's a good way for the Psycho series and the Norman Bates character to live on, and it's better than just remaking the Psycho film again. And I think that they did a good job, kind of staying somewhat true to the original material with the taxidermy and the other stuff. And they also added some things like the Dylan character that was there, and the brother. I think it's a good show. So yeah, that's it, guys. This video is probably going to be pretty long. I'll see you guys next season for the Bates Motel, but I'll see you guys in plenty of other videos, so bye.